Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. How long do you live in a place before it starts feeling like home? How long before it becomes part of how you express yourself? For Irish fiddler, singer, and dancer Eimear Arkins, it's about 10 years, and her new album, Here and There, celebrates how she feels at home and in meaningful community in both St. Louis and her native Ireland. One of Eimear's original compositions on her new album, She's At It Again, demonstrates that. It's a song named in honor of Helen Gannon, a leader in St. Louis Irish arts for decades. Here's a bit of that track. And here to talk with us about the making of her new album, we welcome the artist herself, Eimear Arkins. Eimear, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to see you here in person.
Likewise.
Now, did this album start, with a single song? Was it a feeling, an event?
It started with an idea that I had during COVID when I couldn't go home to County Clare. So I started learning more and more tunes that are from that area. And I did a little video project that year performing the tunes in different parts of the St. Louis city area. And then from there, it sort of grew legs. It stopped and started a few times, but then I decided to commit to it and to make this album, which features mostly tunes from County Clare and then some songs. But all of the musicians on the album are people that I play with regularly here in St. Louis.
Okay. And how is it that you chose those places?
The places I chose to record the little videos had connections to the title, some of them. So like one of the tunes that I recorded was The Hairy-Chested Frog. And those of you that might be familiar with Venice Cafe, there's a huge frog outside it. So it was just sort of a fun little project, something to do during COVID, just bouncing around the city performing and making little videos.
Yeah. So clearly, there are these connections between the two places that are home to you, County Clare, which is in Western Ireland, and here St. Louis, which is part of the Midwest of the U.S. Talk to me about one of the songs on this album called St. Louis Waltz. What is the story behind that?
Well, during COVID, when I was teaching online a lot, I was trying to find new music pieces and new songs to teach my students, and a lot of our Irish tunes are named after places, and it's hard to form a connection to a place and a tune if you don't know where that place is. And so I just decided to Google St. Louis, and there's a great database for Irish music called thesession.org. So I typed St. Louis into it and up popped the St. Louis Waltz, and there was only one known recording of it, and it was by two people who are actually based in County Clare, one of whom is from County Clare, that had recorded it. So I just thought, what are the chances that there's one piece of music out here that's called the St. Louis Waltz recorded in County Clare?
And how long ago do you remember?
It was recorded in 1991.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any?
No, I'd never heard it. I didn't know anything about it. And then I contacted one of the musicians to find out, how he learned it, and he said someone came to Doolin, which is a very popular tourist and music town in County Clare. Someone came to Doolin in the 80s, played the tune informally at a session and said it's called the St. Louis Waltz, and he and this other lady took this guy at his word and they recorded it and called it that. So who knows, it might be known elsewhere in the world as something completely different,
right.
For now it's the St. Louis Waltz.
Okay, it works. So the songs on the album, Here and There, it ranges from Sean Nos, which is in the old way, to folk. So this range, was that something that you want to make sure was part of this, or is just sort of inherent to what Irish music is?
I think that's a great question. I think it captures sort of the different types of songs and different music that I play, and also a little bit of my own musical journey. In County Clare, when I started playing music, and especially when I was singing, I sang a lot of sean-nós and traditional songs. And since coming to St. Louis and the US, I have traveled a lot and performed with a lot of different people and in a lot of different settings. And so my own musical repertoire has really expanded. And I think that you can see that in the range of songs that's on the album.
Mm-hmm. And in this song, St. Louis Waltz specifically, how do we see that range?
Oh, well, that's a little bit different because that is an instrumental piece. So when I'm talking about the songs talking about the ones with lyrics, the St. Louis Waltz is it's pretty traditional, but I think what sets it apart on the album is that I combine it with two players from the St. Louis String Collective. So it's not just what we would call hardcore traditional music. There's beautiful sort of classical and other genres present in the arrangement of the piece.
Okay, let's hear some of St. Louis Waltz. And that was St. Louis Waltz, which is on the new album from Eimear Arkins. The album is called Here and There. There's another song that I'm interested in hearing a little bit about. It is Terre de Wallaroo, and it features lilting. Tell us what lilting is, and what is it about it that is remarkable?
Lilting is a form of mouth music, and it's in Ireland it's known sometimes as didling because often the vocables that you choose start with the letter D. So in order to lilt, you take a dance tune like a jig or a reel, and instead of playing it on an instrument, you come up with nonsensical vocables, which is a very fancy way of saying gibberish or gobbledygook. And you use those vocables to get the tune across. Mm-hmm. So on that song, Terre Wallaroo, that is both a song and it's written in jig time. So the melody is actually a piece of music in itself. It's a jig. And so the lilting works particularly well. It sort of fuses the instrumental and the vocal performance all together. Mm-hmm. So lilting is really at the intersection of music, song, and of dance because it's very percussive.
Mm-hmm. And let's hear a bit of Terre de Wallaroo.
Tato wallaroo, tato wallaroo, tato wallaroo, fairy. Tato waller is fun, so waller mar thought the water get dainta. Oh, tato wallaroo, tato wallaroo, tato wallaroo, fairy. Tato waller is fun, so waller mar thought the water get dainta. Dee dum dee idle dum to the dee dum dee dum dum dee dum dee idle dum dee dum dum da to the dee do to the dee dum dee idle dum to the dee dum dum do dee idle dee do to the dee dum dee idle dum doodle dum da idle dum doodle dum da to the dee do to the dee dum dee idle dum to the dee dum da dee idle dum to the dee dum day dee idle dee do dum to the dee do idle dum doodle dum da to the dee do to the dee dum dee idle dum to the dee do dum doodle dum 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 to the dee day dee idle dee do dum to the dee do idle dum doodle dum da to the dee do to the dee dum dee idle dum to the dee do dum to the dee dum.
And that is Eimear Arkins singing Terre de Wallaroo, and it's a song that features lilting, is on your new album. Now, that song has you singing using another instrument, not just the fiddle, and you're singing in Gaelic.
That's correct.
Talk with us about the difference between speaking or singing in Gaelic and singing something that is in English or another language?
Well, I grew up speaking Gaelic or Irish, as we call it, and it's a compulsory subject in school. But my mom was also an Irish teacher, so we spoke a lot of Irish at home. So I've been singing in Irish as long as I've been singing in English. Actually, some of the first songs I would have learnt in school were in Irish.
Yeah.
So in some ways, there's no difference to me. And in other ways, some of the songs that I sing in Irish are... the melodies and the lyrics are so old that they can really transport you to a different time. Not that that's not the case with English songs as well, but they sometimes feel a little bit more special or a little bit more personal when you can completely immerse yourself in this other time and in a story from a past life. This particular one, though, Tara Walleru, is a kind of a humorous story between a father and a daughter arguing back and forth about whether her match has been made or whether it hasn't. He thinks he has found her a nice man to marry, but she doesn't agree with his choice.
Okay, so is this where the gibberish sort of comes into play?
Not really. The gibberish comes in just in getting the tune across for the lilting, but the song is, it's just a humorous back and forth between a father and a daughter.
Mm-hmm. And when you were on last year, speaking with producer Emily Woodbury, I think you had talked about the way that singing in Irish, there's a way that the language clings to the music, and that was very emotionally resonant. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you hope to do more of with the music that you put out for future albums or in other video series that you do?
Sure. Yeah, I think singing in Irish is really important to me. Like I said, I've been singing in Irish as long as I could sing in English, but there are just so many beautiful songs, and the way to keep them alive is to sing them, and the same way to keep the language alive is to sing them. So I teach songs in Irish as well to kids here in St. Louis who have not got a word of spoken Irish but can sing little songs in Irish, and it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful way to keep those songs alive.
Mm-hmm. And this question now, as it pertains to home, you travel back and forth between U.S. and Ireland often, living transnationally. What is it that keeps you living in St. Louis for much of that time?
Well, it depends on who you ask, but definitely one of the huge factors that has kept me in St. Louis has been the music community here, and not just the Irish music community, although that has played obviously a huge role, but the music in general. And I really fell into a wonderful, loving, supportive community at St. Louis Irish Arts when I came here first, and that has been definitely the driving force in keeping me in St. Louis. Although there are some other factors as well that have kept me in St. Louis too.
Mm-hmm. Like other things that have to do with home.
Yes.
Eimear, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
This episode was produced by Emily Woodbury.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.